It's rare, viewers, that I get to bring you news that is both heartening and encouraging. And today I'm happy to let you know that after relentless coverage and campaigning on this channel, on this show, where we asked for a public online database of sexual predators, of anyone who's convicted of a sexual crime against adults or children, we've now found out from the Union Minister of Women and Child Development, Maneka Gandhi, who's confirmed to us today that the government is working on this very database right now as we speak. This database will be a game changer for anybody who believes that he can commit this crime with impunity. What this will do is it will allow you as a parent or as an individual to actually look up the history, the criminal history of anyone who drives your children to school, who works in your children's schools, people who you let into your house as electricians or plumbers or anyone else. You will be able to look up this database and find out if this person has a history of sexual predator-like criminality in any other part of the country. This will add a definite layer of safety for women and children in this country. Take a look.
24-year-old physiotherapist who was raped and brutally murdered.
The city of Pune, where a 23-year-old software engineer was stabbed to death.
A database, a national public online database that needs to be put up of everyone that is convicted of a sexual offense, be that molestation, child molestation, eve teasing, or stalking, or rape, so we can know who these men are.
In an exclusive to Magicbricks Now, the Minister of Women and Child Development, Ms. Maneka Gandhi, has told us that the ministry is working upon an online database of the charge-sheeted sexual offenders.
And then after that, we're asking for a national register on all sex offenders.
I mean, the kind of punishment they are getting out of it, it should be made more aware of what they can get punished of. And it could be made a little bit more severe also, like in case if it is required.
Again, the punishment can be increased so that there's some fear in people.
Like, CCTV camera is very important when a woman is walking on the road in the night. It should be like, if anything happens, it should be captured.
Right.
There should be a lot of cameras invested everywhere. Like every 500 meters, there must be police.
What we need to do is first work on our self-defense. Like everyone giving that example of the police and the CCTV cameras and everywhere is that they are locating everywhere. But thing is that how fast is our police? That must be there.
Well, viewers, that is a victory for us here at this channel. I consider it, a huge victory for women across the country and for anyone who might have been a victim in the future. This will actually help us go one step further towards ensuring that we are a safer nation for women. But the question is it enough? Can we do more? Joining me on the show this evening, Ranjana Kumari, Director of the Center of Social Research. Saira, Shah, Halim is a writer and an activist. We also have Aarti, Sathe, BJP spokesperson and advocate, joining me in the Mumbai studio. Brinda Adige, social activist who's been part of this entire fight with us. And Tara Krishnaswamy is a gender activist who joins us in Bangalore. I'm going to start first with Ranjana Kumari. Ranjana Kumari, I consider this a win. If we have this database, it's going to make a massive difference to women across the country. How are you reading into this, into the announcement that we've heard today, into what has been told to us on this channel, that we will in fact have a database?
I think this is a progressive step that the Women and Child Minister is going to take if she really is going to push for this database, because this issue emerged at the time of Nirbhaya in 2012 and also, of course, the Verma Commission, one of the recommendation was to really make it public, and so people can be watchful of such persons around in the neighborhood, in maybe if you're giving employment and all that. And also this is absolutely essential because we have repeat crime offenders, way too many, when they have come out on bail or they have been released. After that, they are committing the similar crime or maybe attacking the same victim. So those are the kind of things which are very important to keep in mind when we are thinking about having this kind of a roster where all these people will be listed, their offense will be listed, and also we are talking about people who have already been punished for the crime. So that is very important to keep in mind, because sometimes if we have a register where we have names of people who have only been named, then perhaps there is a problem, because the crime has not been established by the court, and maybe the person at the end of it is not really the person who has committed the crime. So that kind of a caution needs to be taken, and I'm sure when we are discussing this and we are planning it, that caution will be there. And second thing also is that we have to be very sure that nobody who is really not an offender is attacked or by the neighbors or by people who would not allow such a person to live any kind of life in society, then that also needs to be looked into. So I think there are various aspects, but it is a must to have such a list, and it is must to make such people public, so that it will act as a deterrent. It's not only that we are careful, but it will also act as a deterrent for a lot of people who would know that they will go public, because a lot of people think that nobody will get to know, and they can repeat the crime, they can go back to the society and start behaving in the same way. So at least that deterrent will be there, that my name will become public, my face will become public, and that is something which is extremely important. And police can also revisit them time to time.
Brinda Adige, one of the problems that we discussed together when the case emerged in Delhi of the repeat offender who himself confessed to having molested over 500 underage girls. He said that he kept moving from place to place every time someone found him out. A database like this will actually help parents, help neighbors figure out who these men are who move from place to place in order to find new victims.
Absolutely agree with you. But one of the clauses is unless and until he is convicted, that database is not going to be made public, which means it puts the onus on the courts not to drag cases, not to make it cumbersome and tedious, but have speedy trials and swift punishments, which would then allow this kind of a clause to be actually implemented in the best interest of future victims. Because this man has been traveling, this man has been going to so many different places, and that is something that is happening with most rapists. It is not the first time. So the onus now is that the courts must function much more effectively and efficiently. We also know that a majority, almost 80% of the rapes are committed by acquaintances of the victim. So this becomes another challenge. Very many times in our society, homes, families, schools, institutions will always want to hide this rapist's name, face, profile, everything. So when we talk of naming and shaming the rapist, we need to take into consideration all these aspects, because the end result is how are we going to protect the victim, the survivor, and see how we will protect and keep the future victims safe.
Right, I want to bring in Aarti Sathe at this point. Aarti Sathe representing the BJP. Aarti, let me first, on behalf of this channel and on behalf of the women of this country, thank the government for hearing us out and actually putting this into action. This is something that, instills a certain level of confidence. But there is so much more to be done. First of all, fast-track courts. And secondly, better use of the Nirbhaya fund.
Sure. I must take it in... the compliments which we have paid for to the government. I must accept that on behalf of the government and everybody who's committed on behalf of the government as far as women's safety is concerned. At the same time, I would also like to congratulate your channel to consistently take up this issue. Now, coming to the issue at hand, really, Faye, I think this has been a very, very progressive step which our minister has proposed. At the same time, we are aware that fast-track courts need to be established, and which we are in the process of doing. In fact, the Maharashtra government in its recent GR, and I had said this earlier on your channel too, that in its recent GR of 12th May, has come out with recommendations for a fast-track court, more public prosecutors. At the same time, more systems are being put in place to ensure that women's safety is of highest priority as far as at least the Maharashtra government, and I'm sure all other governments where the BJP-led government is there, and now with the union minister making a statement that we are in the process of really bringing out this roster. I think various steps are being taken so as to ensure that these repeated incidences, which are rather unfortunate, which take place in various cities, in various states of India, are curbed. The Nirbhaya Fund is something which we are working towards, which we are seeing to it that it is going to be put in place at the right time. The Ministry of Home Affairs also at the same time is actively pursuing the statistical data available, because like some panelists have rightly mentioned, that we need to have data of the convicted offenders. We cannot really have people who are only on the real suspect list, so as to speak, because when the trial is going on till they are not proved guilty, we cannot have that statistical data.
And I'm glad to have you here as both a representative of the government and an advocate yourself. In your experience, are the public prosecutors strong enough? Are the police currently strong enough to actually get convictions in cases of, sexual offense? Because if we look at the numbers are not heartening. 20-25% is the conviction rate. Maharashtra is even lower at 17%. Where are we missing the bus here? As a lawyer, I'm asking you this question as a lawyer.
Sure. As far as the ability of the public prosecutors is concerned, I don't really want to judge any of them. They are very highly abled lawyers who represent in full integrity as far as their work is concerned. As far as police is concerned, there may be a little bit of, I won't say a lacune, but police really need to be sensitized about certain issues. Sometimes there is a delay in really filing the FIR or taking the right instructions, or the crime scene is really sometimes tampered with in certain situations. So I think there has to be a little more of police sensitization, a little more of police education. The other lacune in our system, which is a little unfortunate situation, is that we have, today, a situation where the judiciary is very overburdened with various cases at various levels. We have various appeals which are pending, and as a result of that, there is a delay generally amongst the entire judicial system, and at various levels, there have been demands of having more judges to deal with different cases, including criminal cases. Again, fast-track courts, which is a recommendation, and I think as a lawyer too, I strongly support fast-track courts as far as these cases are concerned. So I think once these lacunes are filled up, that is police sensitization, more judges in the system, more public prosecutors, and a fast-track court, I think all these approaches will help us in bringing to book all these criminals who have really been on the loose, or, and the government is constantly updating, the government is constantly committed to bringing these issues to fore.
In fact, I want all of our panelists today, given that we have some confidence now that the government is listening to us, to work on more suggestions. And we'll, on behalf of this channel, we'll put it into a dossier and we'll send it to various departments of the government as useful suggestions that can actually be put into place. My personal need is that all victims be treated with more respect and with more care at hospitals where they are taken for examinations. Private hospitals currently, we know for sure, in the city of Mumbai, are not accepting victims of sexual crimes, which is a really unfortunate state of affairs. Even though they're required to, they don't accept any sort of, any victim that comes to them. These victims are sent to public hospitals where they're treated very badly. So we're hoping, and this is true for children and for adults, victims of sexual crimes are not treated by private hospitals at all. We need to be able to change that, because that's the first experience that a victim has to go through when the entire crime and the whole thing is so raw. If we can fix that, we'll be able to then give some confidence to the women across the country. But I'll start with Tara Krishnaswamy. Tara Krishnaswamy, thank you for joining us on the show. I want to understand from you what you believe we need right now in this country, and what I'll also do at the same time is open up the phone line so our viewers can add to this conversation. Tara, what do you think we need, as part of this database or other than this database, to make women and children safer in this country?
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. See, there is no silver bullet here. We need a comprehensive approach, and the countries that are dealing with it better, that are increasing the reportage, that show zero tolerance, actually have a well-rounded, coherent, comprehensive plan. One of the panelists pointed out that, law and law enforcement and judiciary, there are some, changes that we can make with fast-track courts, with, the way evidence is treated and so on. But that is one part of the whole solution.
the entire gamut of gender sensitization, whether it is around social reform and the general society, to schools and students, to taking pledges of zero tolerance, coming all the way down from the politicians themselves. The Indian government at the union and state level has to stand up and say zero tolerance, it is never okay. So starting from social reform and sensitization, through law and order enforcement and judiciary, and finally how you treat survivors, how you prevent these cases in terms of crisis, in terms of emergency lines, the entire gamut needs to be looked at. But before all that, first of all, data needs to be gathered. No problem can be solved without gathering data. And we absolutely don't have enough data. The NCRB data barely touches the surface here. The majority of, close to 80% of the rape and molestation cases happen from known people. I think one other panelist mentioned that. They happen inside marriage. They happen on the promise of, they kidnap people on the promise of marriage, and then it happens. So data needs to be gathered from a perpetrator perspective, from a victim perspective, from bystanders and society perspective, and where it happens, how it happens, the extent of violence before we can devise solutions. Right. So first of all, use the Nirbhaya fund to gather a quote state of patriarchy situation in India. That includes survey and data gathering on both men and women, before which you cannot formulate comprehensive solutions. Everything else, a few CCTVs here, a database of convicted sexual offenders is very good. In fact, I myself ran a campaign in 2014 in Karnataka. We successfully ran a campaign. At that time, Mr. George was the Home Minister, and there was an order issued that convicted sexual offender databases must be available at police stations. And this is absolutely essential because schools were hiring people that were convicted sexual offenders, and children were being molested. Right? So this is absolutely essential. But this is not the panacea, or this is not the silver bullet. We need a well-rounded approach to this.
Right. So I want to bring in Saira Shah, Halim. Saira Shah joins us right now from Kolkata. Saira, thank you for joining us. I want to understand what your concerns are. I'm also worried about one more thing. Child molesters, and for our viewers who don't know this, get 3 to 7 years as a term, after which, even if they're convicted and the conviction rate is fairly low, after a 3-year term, they're back on the streets around our children. So is this database the answer to that? Saira, do you believe that there's something else that we could be doing to make our children safer?
I can't hear anything.
See, I think this is a welcome step taken by, Ms. Maneka Gandhi, and right now the Ministry of Home Affairs is deliberating on it, because I think it's time now, though it might sound unjust to people that why would you make such a list public, but I feel it's the hour of the need, because as we've witnessed that sometimes, the offenders who have been convicted, they do tend to repeat the same offense again, and there's absolutely no history with the employers, there's absolutely no history with the police or even the neighbors. People don't even know that the tenant could have been a habitual offender in the past. So I feel such a documentation is required, which should be made public to the people. It's not about shaming the people, it's just about being vigilant. And the police should keep a strict vigilance on people who have been convicted of any kind of a sexual offense in the past, because I feel these people need to be monitored, because we are not asking anybody to hound them. We are simply asking that these people need to be monitored. That is it. We need to see their progress, whether they are progressing all right in society, whether they are able to come to terms with everyday living, with everyday existence, and counseling sessions being mandatory for them, because these people can get back to the old way of life. So I feel counseling is required, monitoring is required, and definitely a register like that, which is made public to the people, would act as a deterrent to future offenders. So I feel that
my concern, while that's a great suggestion, Saira Shah, while that's a great suggestion to rehabilitate offenders and people who've been convicted of crimes, Brinda Adige, do we have the ability to do it right now? I'm worried that we don't have enough members of our police force to simply keep our streets safe. Do we have the manpower right now to monitor those who've been released from jail? Brinda?
Yeah, I think if other countries can follow this, America is following it, Britain is following it, South Africa is following it. So what's stopping our country?
You need to equate a lot of things together. You're looking at a population of people. You're looking at the population of the police that is presently available. We are also looking at a judiciary. We are looking at communities that also do not want to take responsibility to even make a complaint or a call. As per the Nirbhaya Fund, you have an SOS button on smartphones, which then caters to a very small number of women, and a large section of the women who will not have smartphones cannot make SOS call. So you're looking at a lot of different issues. You're also addressing an issue of this whole thing being under wraps all the time, because as a country, as a society, we do not like to talk about sex, we don't like to talk about sex offenders, we don't like to talk about rapists. We continue to give excuses. So don't talk about rehabilitation just now. It should be there. I do not disagree with you, but talk about safety and protection first.
Right.
And strengthening your systems just now.
Aarti, Sathe, some very interesting recommendations are being made, and I'm going to go back to Tara in a bit for her recommendations. But along with faster courts, education and sensitization for the police, stronger punishment, more data about crimes like this. And there's something else that is really low-hanging fruit that the government can do immediately, and I'm hoping you'll carry this message for us, which is to simply outlaw the sale of acid of any form in any market. I mean, acid should simply just be contraband. There is no reason, there is no use that acid has.
It's already been outlawed.
But it's still...
It's already outlawed, Faye.
But Ranjana, it's still available, and people who are using it as a weapon still have easy access to it. Aarti?
Yeah.
Maybe
it is surreptitiously being procured by certain people.
Yes, you're right that
these kind of offenders also really need to be brought to the books, and there will be systems put in place hopefully in the near future. If this is one of the recommendations, that acid attacks seem to be on the rise, and they are used as ways of intimidating or threatening or causing harm to women. So surely, this recommendation will be carried to the concerned ministry, and if it is an outlawed thing and if it is being procured surreptitiously, then that will be it will be seen to it that it is not in the market openly available for the offenders to commit these crimes and to cause harm to women. The other thing, just digressing a little bit, is that as we said, we are working on these recommendations consistently. There is another e-complaint website which has been launched called www.ncpr.org, wherein the women complainants and even the child complainants can actually register their complaints, and we get a flow of complaints. There are in fact it's a little sad figure, but there are about 156 complaints in a month which keep getting registered. So the government is consistently doing things to bring to books all these offenders. So one of the recommendations of this acid being surreptitiously procured will also be taken on a priority basis.
Ranjana, I want to come back to you on on acid. The fact that even though it's banned in the market, it's easily available and it's being used as a weapon against women by stalkers. We've seen a series of cases in the past where someone's been rejected by a young woman and he reacts by throwing acid in her face and effectively ruining her life. Now, obviously, outlawing it has not helped. What do you think should be done in this particular case?
Well, acid is been put in the category of poison, and that is why it is not off the shelf available. Nobody can buy it off the shelf officially. But as you know, that acid has also been used for toilet cleaning, for given to the local, these the cleaning officials of the government. The whole team gets it. It's purchased in a big commodity, as a big commodity, and then is distributed. And those are the people who resell it to different people, and also off the shelf there are places like there was a recent attack in Gurgaon where he could buy it. The problem is that we have not been able to arrest the people who sell it, and that is where the problem is, and that is why people have the courage to sell it like that. Now let me go back to your list of things that you are wanting to do. One thing that we have been talking about, and out of 2 national consultations which emerged, I want to just bring before you, is the forensic laboratories. You know, what happens in most of the cases which do not stand the scrutiny of the court is where these forensic, does not take place in time, and the sample gets wasted, and then it is inconclusively proven. So when it is inconclusively proven, there is a benefit of doubt, and court does not really give the benefit, on the basis of benefit of doubt, the conviction is not as severe, or sometimes they don't get convicted. So it is very important to have very smart, and there are smart kits available now, which one we saw in Germany, in Bavaria, where this kit can be made available to even rural areas, even to the rural police station, where by a very simple test it can be established that the woman has been raped. So I think it's very important for us to go for those kind of smart technologies, and not wait till we can. And Nirbhaya Fund, I want to ask, as you said, somebody from the government is here.
Aarti,
what is happening to that money? When the time will come, she said, but when that time will come, I mean, the time is always there. You have been sitting over so much of money. We can make some courts act faster. We can have forensic laboratory. We can give better investigation training. So why not? Why not use all that counseling training? So why not use all that?
So Aarti, Sathe, just to bring up the numbers, the Nirbhaya Fund, the Nirbhaya case is 4 years old now. The fund has 3,000 crore rupees in it. 1,000 crore rupees is added every year in every union budget, and various arms of the government, a parliamentary panel have pointed out that the usage of that fund has been completely inadequate and not enough is being done. So is there a clear route that the government is using to actually put that money to use?
Yeah, like I said, there are a slew of reforms which the government is consistently bringing up, and the Nirbhaya Fund is being utilized. Well, there may be times when there is being a bit of underutilization, but that does not mean that the fund is not being used at all. In fact, like I pointed out, the Maharashtra government has done everything possible in the recent past to see to it that women's safety is the priority issue. We have in fact installed CCTV cameras at various places. The analogy of the Nirbhaya case which really happened is the Shakti Mills case which happened in Bombay. And immediately thereafter, the Maharashtra government has again issued GRs that more surveillance has to be has to happen at places which are which are a little desolate.
So I understand that you're more familiar with the Maharashtra government, which is why you're bringing up what has been done in Maharashtra. But also in that case, on the flip side, let me point out that the 24-year-old physiotherapist case, which is now nearly 2 months old, there's been no suspect, there's been no arrest. We're not even, the police have actually told our reporter that they have nothing. So there are, if we are going to point out examples, there are enough examples in Maharashtra of cases where there's been no lead at all and there's been no work being done. There are enough cases that are just as disheartening here. So actually, we need to look at this on a national level as to see what we can do. And let me point out, Maharashtra has the worst conviction rate when it comes to sexual offence.
That's the reason why, if Maharashtra, and as you rightly said, if Maharashtra has a bad conviction rate, hence I'm again repeatedly saying that the GR of 12th May has said that set up more fast-track courts, have more public prosecutors, have set up systems in public transport, have a dedicated women's helpline, have dedicated police stations which ultimately take care of women's issues. So the Nirbhaya Fund allocation is happening state-wise, and each state will then, according to the need of each state, really put that fund into place. So to say that it's not being used at all may be a slightly incorrect statement, but wherever there is an underutilization, with recommendations from the citizens, with recommendations from the NGOs, the Home Ministry and the Women and Child Development Ministry will see to it that this fund is properly utilized.
Well, I want to bring Tara back in here. Tara, a couple of things that I want, and you're in Bangalore. Bangalore has had some very harrowing cases in the recent past. I want to understand from you, how disheartening is it for you that the Nirbhaya Fund is being underutilized? One. Secondly, NCPR.org with 150 registered complaints. Give us a review of how much of a difference you think that sort of a website is making. We're living in a country right now where women are actually afraid to approach police stations. Do you think a website is the answer to that question?
Yeah, so the Nirbhaya fund is woefully underutilized. Less than 40% has even been claimed as proposals. I'm not even talking about sanctioned amount. And after it is sanctioned, what is actually utilized? So thousands of crores are still remaining. Unlike what the Justice Verma Committee recommended in terms of an emergency helpline that anyone could use, a universal emergency helpline like 181, which the central government has done nothing about. States have their own helpline and they're talking about SOS buttons on smartphones, which means the majority of the women can't access them. My question is, what is the union government doing about zero tolerance? Why aren't they holding the states accountable to a comprehensive policy? To allocate money and sit around and saying states will get it according to their needs, all states need it. Not only Maharashtra, my own home state of Karnataka has dismally low convictions. And I'd like to point out respectfully to the other panelists that convictions happen after trial and then letting someone go scot-free. It's not because of fast-track or slow-track courts. I'm absolutely for fast-track courts. That said, conviction is when a rapist walks free after the trial, which means the trial happened and there is an issue with how the trial was conducted or the evidence or the witnesses, the process itself. So that is one thing on the Nirbhaya fund. The other couple of suggestions I want to make are, India has one of the lowest percentage of police forces for every 100 population compared to say the US or many other advanced countries, and even lower population of women police. And most states other than Chandigarh and Tamil Nadu have an extremely low population of women police stations and police force. So with that, it's very difficult for reporting to happen. And to put it on a website, you know, it's smacks of elitism, right? Most women don't have access to a website and they're not going to go to a website to complain about this. So accessibility is a very important thing. There are three specific recommendations I'd like to make. One is to do zero tolerance zones. Because we have so few police people and they are dispersed and they cannot catch criminals. Just like they do zero tolerance zones for traffic, where every traffic violation in a given zero tolerance zone is caught and punished and it sends a message, do the same for sexual harassment. Crowdsource the data, find out what are the top 10 areas that are most dangerous for women, concentrate the police people there, sends a clear message to perpetrators, it builds confidence in victims. That is number one, that the police is on our side. Number two, use the broken window philosophy. The fellow doesn't start out raping. The fellow starts out groping, he starts out molesting, he starts out with verbal comments, and he gets emboldened because these smaller crimes go unpunished. The broken window philosophy says punish the smaller crimes with harsh punishment so that it doesn't become rape. The Bangalore case, the video that you're just showing on screen now, the fellows got caught. But any woman that looks at it will tell you they are actually doing a recce for rape. Had they not gotten caught that day, for sure they would have come back to rape her. So small crimes, small criminals become rapists. So you have to go after them. The third thing is, the Women and Child Department has rightfully introduced anti-sexual harassment training, sensitization in many places, government offices. Introduce them throughout, introduce them in the police force, introduce them for the judiciary, introduce them for private companies, introduce them in schools and colleges. These people don't get 50 before they start doing this. People start doing this at a very young age because they don't know better or they don't care. So you've got to start the sensitization training early and have students take a pledge. If I stand up and say this country is mine and I'm patriotic, take a pledge that I will not sex. This indoctrination goes very far.
Right. These are excellent suggestions being made by our panel. In fact, I want to, for those of our viewers who are just joining in, I want to play to you what the Women and Child Union Minister Maneka Gandhi spoke to our channel and told us today that there will be, a public database created. We're going to listen in to that, through that quick interview, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the things that we believe still need to be done in order to make this country truly safe. Listen in.
We've started now with an online national alliance, with a national alliance against pornography. So that should actually go somewhere. And then after that, we're asking for a national register on all sex offenders.
Ma'am, that database, when can we expect that database?
It depends on the Home Ministry, but we're pushing very hard for it.
Well, that's what we've heard from the Women and Child Minister today. But of course, and at Magicbricks Now, we have a lot of demands that we've been putting forward. This has been one of those, a database of sex offenders, so that when you let someone into your house, that you know what kind of person you're letting into your house, and if that person has a history of this sort of criminality. That's our first demand. Our second demand is to create one-stop centers for victims of sexual offense, places where they can go to get legal help, to get medical help, and to get counseling. This was part of the plan of the ministry. It hasn't been executed, and we're hoping it gets executed as soon as possible. We want a ban on bail for accused of rape, so that they don't get out and they don't manage to threaten the victim and the family. We've seen various cases, especially in the north of India, of cases where the accused has gotten out on bail and then gone back to rape the same person again. That should be stopped completely. Ban on bail for people who've been accused of acid attacks. Ban on the open sale and purchase of acid, which is being used as a weapon against women. An investment into safe and easily accessible public transport. And somehow, when we build cities, and so much is being done to renew our cities and to build cities, there's not enough focus on public transport and safety for women within public transport. And of course, sex education being mandatory in schools, and a functional center sponsored with emergency helplines, higher budget allocation for women's safety, and fast-track courts. Brinda Adige, these are all slightly long-term demands. But on the immediate anvil, things that the government can do as quickly as the budget that's coming up in less than a week, stuff that can be done right away to make women safer.
Absolutely. There are helplines that are on, and these helplines must become effective. There is no second thoughts about it, and there's no need for anything new to happen. We know that this can be done. Secondly, because of underutilization of the compensation to the victims of rape as well as acid attack, the compensation has been, the union budget has cancelled this. This should come back into the project. This should come back. There can be also an amendment that can be made to say that when an FIR is filed, especially by an acid victim, the compensation should be given, because the process of the court is so tedious, not after the verdict is given. And thirdly, like some of the panelists have mentioned, we need to start talking about this more and more. There cannot be any more silence, there cannot be any more facades, and there cannot be any more whispers about perpetrators. And this crime called sexual assault, rape, molestation, whatever it is that makes the woman get scared of her body and not wanting to come out anywhere in public or in private, it has to be addressed. No point saying that this is how my society is, my religion is. We need to talk about it, and everybody should feel proud that somebody has come forward. Respect this person for speaking up. No more stigma.
Absolutely, no more stigma. In fact, we spoke with young women across the country to find out what they think needs to be done. Listen to what they had to say.
I feel it's a beginning, and there would be more legs to it, and that it's just going to improvise.
First thing, it'll help to curb the sexual offences. Plus, second thing, might be they'll feel ashamed of those who are doing sexual offences and stop doing so. So it is indeed a good step, and I hope really best with the government.
दिनों दिन रेप बढ़ते ही जा रहे हैं, तो I don't think कि ये सब possible होगा.
It's not the ultimate step, but it's a start of something better for women's safety.
Yeah, I think it's a good move from the government, wherein it will help in ensuring women's safety.
Well, first and foremost, it's a very good move. And secondly, I'm not sure how much will this benefit in the long run, because what I see is it's a website, and I don't know how far it could reach out.
The kind of punishment they are getting out of it, it should be made more aware of what they can get punished of.
Again, the punishment can be increased so that there's some fear in people.
CCTV camera is very important when a woman is walking on the road in the night. It should be like, if anything happens, it should be captured.
There should be a lot of cameras invested everywhere.
Every 500 meters there must be police.
What we need to do is first work on our self-defense.
Ranjana Kumari, there's another angle that hasn't come up in all of these very valid suggestions that these young ladies have made, and that is the message that gets sent out by so-called leaders of society, members of the political, class, who make derogatory statements about women constantly and with every single political party. I demand on this channel, and I've demanded this in the past, that people who make derogatory statements about women from political parties be removed from their position and their parties if those parties are in fact serious about safety for women. Ranjana.
I think we should name them, shame them all the time when they do such kind of a remark, when they make remark. But at the same time, we should see some action coming. The one-stop crisis intervention center that you have demanded in your charter that you just were reading, we brought that whole experience from Bangladesh. We shared it with Government of India. We have had officials visiting those centers. We know that there is, because we have run Rape Crisis Intervention Center, helped the police, we have worked with the State Commission for Women. So we know that there are many levels of problem when the girl is really facing this crisis. She has to be at the hospital, go to the police, get the legal aid, get the compensation. There are so many places that the family has to run around and get the repeated experience of being narrating the story, going through the excruciating experience and again. So one center would mean all services available at one single center, and counseling is available at that center, because in many cases we have seen that even parents start blaming the girl for going, and especially children, they start beating the child, saying, why did you go to play there, why were you going to such and such person. So in a way the society still has to really deal with this whole situation where predators are really keeping an eye and then attacking at the time when the child is most vulnerable. So in that situation we need to have such a center which goes into all this. So one-stop crisis intervention center at every district, if preferably every block level. If we can't do it, we should do it at every district level. So these Sakhi Kendras are not enough. They are very few and far between. We need every district, every block to have such centers where they can get police services, legal aid, they can get the medical services, they can get the compensation, everything at one stop, and they don't have to run pillar to post. So this was something where this money could have been utilized. No state in the country except for the Sakhi Kendras opened by the Women and Child Minister in certain state, nothing has really come about. So that's the whole thing. We want action. We want something to be seen doing something about it, not just CCTV camera. That's the easiest thing. Even those cameras don't work. Many a times we don't get the footage, and footage is after effect. Footage is something where you are really...
I also want to draw your attention, Ranjana. I want to draw this panel's attention to the fact that in July last year, the Railways Ministry claimed 500 crore rupees out of the Nirbhaya fund to put CCTV cameras in various train stations. Do you believe that is a fair use of the Nirbhaya fund?
Yeah. Absolutely no. Railway Ministry has enough money, they make enough profits to do it themselves. They didn't have to go for Nirbhaya fund. But the problem with the government is that they kept, what we kept talking about Nirbhaya fund, the logistics of it is that it has been kept with the Finance Ministry, and then the Women and Child Ministry has to make proposals to utilize, or any other ministry for that matter, if they want to do something. Railway Ministry is smart enough to get 500 because they made that proposal about CCTV cameras. You see, the whole thing is that we need services. CCTV camera is not part of the services. We need prevention. CCTV camera is not part of prevention in a major way. So I think this is something totally unfair to give it to Railway Ministry. We should let the fund be given to the National Commission, State Commission for Women. All the women agencies are dried of fund, and look at the ministry which have loads of fund still getting this money also. It's totally unfair. This is not how we should utilize Nirbhaya fund.
So the rest of the panel responds, Tara and then Brinda, and then we'll ask Aarti Sathe to respond on behalf of the government. Tara, go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple of comments on the politicians there. Absolutely, the top leaders, the parliamentarians must walk the talk. They must say zero tolerance and they must demonstrate it themselves. I challenge them to take the gender sensitization training and a pledge. And I think Ms. Maneka Gandhi must ensure that they do that, that her own peers do that, because many a time they themselves make inappropriate comments or comments that demean women. That's number one, right? Number two, as far as the railways goes, the fund is lying unutilized. Inside the train, there are so many rapes that happen. The woman has nowhere to go. She ends up getting pushed out of the train. If nothing, I challenge Mr. Suresh Prabhu to ensure that every train is safe for women. That's actually easier job than ensuring it in a state, because you can run away to the next state. Borders are porous. Inside a train, you're confined. You have the railway police force. So in a moving train, if anything, if you can stop, you make trains absolutely 100% safe for women. Why not take that challenge and do it? It's a confined space. Can you not catch the rapists within that area if you have enough resources to do so? So that is what I would say.
So Tara says basically go ahead and use the Nirbhaya fund provided. Tara saying go ahead and use the Nirbhaya fund for the railways provided you can make trains safe for women.
I just wanted to give you one more information, a small information, Faye.
Yes, Brinda. Ranjana, go ahead, Ranjana.
Many times we keep watching.
No, this is Ranjana Kumari.
Ranjana, go ahead. I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Faye, actually, you will be shocked to hear, and we were equally shocked to hear. Yeah, I'm saying you'll be really shocked to hear that railway police is there in the compartments and at the railway not to protect the people, not to protect the human beings, not to protect the women when something happens. In fact, the case has to be registered by the local police in the city wherever the case has happened, or wherever you will arrive, wherever you can register a case. Railway police is only for the protection of railway property. So that's also a misnomer saying that, oh, there is railway police to protect. Railway police is not there to protect passengers. They are only there to protect the railways goods and railways compartments, railways property.
Right.
So we are also under a lot of confusion about role of railway police when we are traveling. It's not their role to protect us.
Saira, Halim.
Yeah. So the women and child department, first of all, why is it combined?
Yeah, one second. Let me just bring in Saira Halim for a second, because I'm sure she has something to add to this. Saira, two things. One is the use of the Nirbhaya fund by the railways. And secondly, politicians who make derogatory statements about women.
Absolutely. We've noticed that in people in public lives, especially people who hold public offices, they make derogatory statements which are so parochial, as if, it's boys will be boys. And, in the recent past, we've heard another senior politician making a statement that, women are like, sugar, and men are like, bees, and things like that. So it sends out a very strong message out in public that if our leaders can take it, lightly, then we can probably get away with committing a grievous offense. So I feel, sensitization, especially gender sensitization, has to be started right from the beginning in school. And I feel even people should have a copy of public decorum and behavior, so that they understand how they expect it to be and perform in public life, and also how to conduct yourself. And thirdly, when we're talking about the Nirbhaya fund, we have to ensure and we have to see that the funds are being utilized, because these funds have to be monitored. We need to see whether the funds are facilitated, and ensure that it is utilized in the best possible manner.
I want to bring Aarti Sathe's attention to what was said by Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi of the BJP, which Ranjana suggested we name and publicize all of these politicians. Let me point out to you, when we were doing our research, that these sort of statements have come from every political party, barring none. Every political party. Aarti Sathe, a member of the BJP, currently a minister, who says things like women wearing lipstick and powder are the same as terrorists. Why has no action been taken against this individual? Why has he not even apologized in public?
Firstly, Mr. Naqvi is a senior BJP leader, and I don't know in what context he has really made that statement.
Would context matter, but in a statement like this?
But surely, well, I'm not defending the statement made by him. But at the same time, I wouldn't like to comment on the fact that in what context the statement was made, in what situation that statement was made. As far as any action which needs to be taken, that is something which, the senior leaders or the BJP disciplinary committee may consider taking. And of course, any comment which is derogatory or any comment which, sort of is derogatory as far as women are concerned or derogatory as far as certain classes of the society are concerned is a statement which we as a party always distance ourselves from. It may be a personal view, it may be a personal opinion.
He's still an office-bearing senior member of your party,
if at all any action needs to be taken, that will be considered by the disciplinary committee, and we will see to it that, there are enough checks and balances.
It's been a fairly long time since this statement was made. But Brinda, do any of those answers, seem satisfactory to you?
I absolutely do not accept a single statement and word that you made just now. Political parties across India make similar comments. When in public position, there is no subjective comment. There is no in what context. There is no in what situation. And you as the political party cannot stay away from it, because that is politically correct. But it is a disservice and a crime to the citizens who have voted you into power. So what is the disciplinary committee of your political party doing to this particular person who has made a statement belittling women, who has made a statement that not just is derogatory against women, but is treating sexual violence as something as part of the landscape on the sidelines? How can there be any excuse to it?
No, I'm not saying there is any excuse to any statement. All that I'm saying is that at this point of time, I don't know in what context it was made.
Let me tell you what
made
context.
a long time back.
It was made a long time ago.
And it was made a long time back. And if any action needs to be taken, we will consider. But we as a party, we as a government do not subscribe to each and every statement made by any of our leaders. It may be his personal view. And we distance ourselves from anything which is derogatory as far as any class of society is concerned.
This is the truth. Aarti, Sathe, let me enlighten you on the context. Brinda Adige, this is the context. This statement was made after the terror attacks in Mumbai in 2008, which is why the statement says women wearing powder and lipstick are exactly like terrorists. Now, it's true the BJP distanced itself at the time, but post that, this gentleman was appointed a senior minister. So not enough has been done, and this is, let me say it over and over again, this is true of every political party. There'll be a little bit of, frowning over what someone has said, but there's no action being taken. And for as long as people believe that they can say these things in the public domain and get away with it, young men are going to believe that they can commit sexual crime and get away with it, because what do women matter anyway? Tara, what do women matter?
Exactly. What do women matter if you only look at them below the neck? Are women not humans? Are we only the uterus and not the brain? Why do we have a women and child department? I don't understand this. Women and children are not intrinsically attached. There is a phase of a woman's life. There is one function that she does around childbearing. There are many other functions that she does. Women's rights are human rights. You want to give women rights, talk about their underrepresentation in education and employment, in their underdominance in society, and particular underrepresentation in politics. That's women's rights. That has nothing to do with children. And then you talk about violation, sexual violence, violation of women's rights. That's human rights. So why always combine women and child welfare department? I don't understand. First of all, ask the government to separate the two. The two are not intrinsically connected.
That's a very good point. In fact, I want to understand.
Give us the rights.
Absolutely. I want to understand from Aarti, Sathe, do the female members of the BJP, are they currently demanding action from within the BJP? If not, the question arises again that when we vote for women, what are we hoping for? Aarti.
Let me tell you that in the BJP, there are many strong and influential women who hold very important posts. There are many of our ministers who are women. Women are very proactive in BJP, and at the same time, without giving out any names, And I'm only talking right now as far as the Bombay BJP is concerned. There was a particular instance where one of the senior, no, I won't say senior functionary, but there was a case where a BJP member, a woman member, complained about certain, wrong sexual advances made with as far as she was concerned, and immediately action was taken against that gentleman, and he was removed from the post which was given to him. So BJP as a party is very committed to seeing to it that no kind of wrongdoing is done as far as women are concerned. I'm a lawyer, I'm a BJP Mumbai spokesperson, and I can say it with full confidence that utmost, let me finish, that utmost respect is given to me as a BJP member, and we have a zero tolerance policy as far as any kind of sexual, wrong advances are made as far as women are concerned. So we have a very strong voice. So to say that in BJP or in the government, and the same resonates as far as the government is concerned. We feel very strongly for women issues, we feel very strongly for women's safety issues, and hence the person helming the affairs as far as women issues are concerned is an able minister like Mrs. Maneka Gandhi, and she has taken the bold step today, and as a result of which we are at this discussion. So we are a progressive looking party, we are a women oriented party.
I have to wrap this up. I have to wrap this up, and I want to thank our panelists, but this conversation will continue, and that's my commitment here on this channel, that as far as women's rights are concerned, we will talk about it until we get the kind of reactions that we want. I'm going to make our audience another promise. There are elections coming up in various states. There's a BMC, a civic election coming up in Mumbai. As soon as the candidates are announced, we will make public on this channel every derogatory comment, if at all, a candidate has made about women. We will make public on this channel any sort of criminal history against women that candidate might have. So you will be in a better position to make your choice. And that's a commitment I make to you here on this channel as we wrap up this show. Thanks for watching. Our phone lines are open. If you want to make suggestions to add to our dossier for the safety of women, please feel free to get in touch. Thanks for watching.
You can watch live TV on our website mbnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Magicbricks Now. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magicbricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/Magicbricks Now.